Thank you very much. Let me start by welcoming you all, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Commissioner General for KRA, Mr. Humphrey Watanga, our panelist. We also have with us today the chairman of the Micro and Small Enterprise Association, Mr. James Moreo. I am privileged to be here to give some perspectives from the side of government on this very important summit that we are holding today. It's a shame that I would have wanted to be here for all the 3 days because I find every other topic that's being discussed here of immense interest to me personally, and most important to the government of Kenya. In most countries, the biggest impediment to transforming tax regimes, and especially on the issue of digitization and modernization, is one animal known as political goodwill. Luckily in Kenya, the government of Kenya has taken the deliberate decision that modernizing our tax system and the tax regime is not a nice to have. It's an imperative. It's something we have to do. So therefore, we are already starting from a pedestal of acceptance. As a matter of fact, it is His Excellency the President, Dr. William Ruto, who pushes the extra mile and the extra pedal on the front of transforming our tax regime, as opposed to the other way around. You know, in other countries or even in previous administrations, you find that there was will from among the technocrats, the revenue authorities, treasuries, to modernize, but they got into the handwits of political goodwill. And why is it important for us to modernize our tax systems? First of all, there is something that is happening not just in Kenya, but across Africa, and especially because of whatever is happening within the developed economies, principally the US economies, the high interest rates. You can start to imagine that just a few years ago, just before COVID, you know, the Fed rate in the US was has gone up close to 7-8 times. Just a Fed rate. If the African economies, if the interest rate will go up proportionate to what has happened within the US economy, Africa, as you know it, as an economy, would collapse. So therefore, the issue of debt, the issue of borrowing, in Kenya today, in Kenya shillings terms, this year, we will pay 750 billion Kenyan shillings. That is just close to 6 billion US dollars. 30% of our tax revenue will go to paying interest on domestic debt. I didn't say principal. I just talked about interest. I didn't talk about foreign debt. I just talked about domestic debt. And so therefore, the money that was collected today from 8 o'clock to maybe around now, we've just been working for people who lend money to government. It is that catastrophic. And so therefore for us, it's not a nice to have. It's something we have to do. Why? Because if we expand our revenue base, we'll be able to bring down our domestic borrowing especially. And with the domestic borrowing coming down, we'll be able to bring down the interest rate and especially create an impetus for the private sector credit. And that for us is very important because it is the only way to jumpstart this economy. We have done everything we can, mostly on the expenditure side. I know there's still some things we can do, but we have stretched it to the limit. The only opportunity we have for us to grow and to jumpstart our economy is to work on the revenue side. And that's what we are doing. Second point that becomes important for us in this conversation is an issue of social justice and equity. That's the other driver for us to modernize our tax systems. I just pick on one area of taxes, the income taxes. In Kenya, we have got, a very, very funny, very weird structure of the workforce. The people in the formal sector, both in public sector and the private sector, we have got 3 million people within the formal sector. Within the informal sector, we've got 16 million. The 3 million people in the formal sector, in terms of income taxes, they contribute 500 billion shillings. That's close to over $4 billion in income taxes from 3 million people. The 16 million in the informal sector contribute only 12 billion shillings. For me, that's not an economic issue. For me, it's a social justice issue. It's an ethical issue. It's an equity issue. How can 3 million people disproportionately carry the burden on behalf of 16 million people who are virtually not contributing in terms of income taxes? So, what are we doing? Having realized that that is really, for us, it is an imperative. It's a must-have. First of all, we have decided that there will be nowhere to hide. There will be nowhere to hide for anybody, at zero option. Why? First of all, we have already a huge advantage. The level of digitization, digital payments of the Kenyan economy can be, other countries can look at it green with envy. And I'm sure you've got a lot of people here from international audience. So the base is already there. Because Kenya is the only country where someone who has never gone to school cannot construct a sentence in English, but they can use digital payments through M-Pesa. What an advantage. It is better than the gold mines of Zimbabwe. It's better than the diamonds of South Africa. It's better than the oil of Nigeria. It is a resource that Kenya is extremely proud of, where you have almost virtually the entire economy having embraced digital technology. And we are doing that across other spectra. Last year, we were able to distribute fertilizers to 6.4 million farmers using e-voucher and digital technology, to people, most of them, who are largely illiterate. But the voucher was sent to their phone. We were able to cut losses and corruption and deliver fertilizer straight to the farmer, proportionate to the size of the land holding. A very huge, very, very, very huge, development. Starting this year, every Kenyan who is over 70-year-old is receiving money. 1.9 million Kenyans are receiving money from government for social protection, again using mobile money and digital technology. So we are there. It's not a big job for us to do. And because the base is there and the will is there, what we are now doing is just going to implement this. The gentleman from Safaricom has told you about our paybills, our till numbers from our digital, from our mobile money. Today at KRA, the people who have the devices for VAT, the ETR devices, they are only 200,000. Combined, all our telcos and the banks who are doing mobile money, we've got what we call digital touch points for payments, 2 million of them, 10 times the ETRs we have at KRA. That just speaks to the huge opportunity that Kenya has to even have what I would call the early harvest of digitizing our revenue framework. And that's what we are going to do. We've agreed with the Commissioner General here that all those pay bills, Mr. James Mureu, because they are your members, they are your customers, please whisper to them that come Christmas 2024, all pay bills will also be virtual ETLs for purposes of KRA. And I know there's going to be some noise, but I also want you to tell me, where did we agree that someone will not pay taxes? Maybe I missed that memo. As far as I know, paying taxes is within our constitution, is within our law. And by the way, when those people come to the tax bracket, maybe soon we can, for those 3 million unfortunate guys who are today paying taxes, probably we'll be able to lower the income tax for them. As our Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury said, once we net those people, the prospect of reducing our VAT, for example, from 16% to 14% will start to become a reality. This burden must and will be carried and shared by everybody. Take that to the bank. Second front is on the issue of silos. We are operating in silos. We have got just mountains and islands of people with information, which makes it very difficult for us to be able to even implement some of the topics that I've had here about AI and all that. And I like the gentleman from the UK who has said that the culture must be built. The culture of paying taxes must be built. But in our case here, I think also Professor Ndemo mentioned that it's not just getting people to use technology, but to accept to pay taxes. Luckily for us in this country, all Kenyans love the rule of law. They are aware that we agreed within our laws and our constitution that we pay taxes. So the culture thing is not a problem. What is remaining is for us to do what we need to do. I know within these pockets, some people, when we try, especially to use AI, we are going to get into the challenges of people, citing data protection and all that. But the government of Kenya is taking measures to ensure that when it comes to issue of paying taxes, even hiding behind data protection and data privacy cannot save you, because we are going back to ensure that we change the legal regime to ensure that data sharing, data transparency is actually an obligation for everyone who is holding data. So that will make it easy for us to be able to move to the next step in terms of digitalization. And by the way, one of our other very ambitious projects that we are currently, if you open the newspapers in Kenya, currently you'll find the discussion around our modernizing our healthcare system, where for the first time, and I think unique in the whole world, we are putting all 54 million Kenyans on one digital health platform. If we are going to achieve that, and we will, because we are embarking on it from a very accelerated pace, the next task of now ensuring that all these 54 million Kenyans are also visible for purposes of tax is not something we are hiding from. It's a reality. I know there is pushback on health. I know there's going to be pushback on revenue. But the best thing is that the government is determined, and we are going to see modernization of our health system, modernization of our tax system, because for us, it is the issue of revenue where we are is an existential threat for the country of Kenya as we know it. And finally, even if we are able to modernize and to automate everything within our borders, we cannot be fully successful unless we go the extra mile and go cross-border. So this morning we were I was delighted to hear that in the UK, they don't just look at compliance from within the borders. We have to go cross-border, integrate with customs authorities in other countries, trade facilitation systems, port community systems, any other source of information that can be able to ensure that we are as accurate and we are on point as much as possible, because for us, it is not a nice to have, it's a must have. Thank you very much.